All right, it looks like we're live, everybody. Welcome to this week's webinar. My name's Karen. I'm with ShootProof. I'm the Customer Learning Manager here, and I've invited David to come and speak with you guys. He's been so gracious to give up his time getting ready for this, and then he's going to spend time presenting today, and he will also be doing a Q&A with you.
Well, that's outstanding. Thank you, Karen. And welcome, everybody. Wow, we have an international audience. How exciting is that? So we're going to talk about adding volume sports or volume photography to your portrait studio and what that can mean for you. Let's do that. Enable screen sharing. I thought I had that set up. You see, here we are. First thing
You're there. We got
right off the bat.
That's
okay,
awesome.
So we'll do that. We'll go back to the beginning. There's the welcome. Why are you going to add volume photography? Lots of money. And the checklist of basic things that you need to know when you're doing volume photography is in this checklist here. And this is a very basic checklist of things to think about, but it's things we didn't think about, or maybe we should have thought more about when we first started doing this. There's the link to go download this checklist, sportschecklist.davidgrupasports.com. It's actually downloadable from my ShootProof site. So just go right there and find the checklist. You can download that. There's also a bonus there for people. So this is my wife, Kirsten, and we operate Grupa Portrait Studio and David Grupa Sports. We are both certified professional photographers, and Kirsten has been in the industry since 2003. I've been in it just a little bit longer than she has. Our background is in wedding and portrait photography, and we operate a portrait studio in Maplewood, Minnesota. Maplewood is a suburb of St. Paul, and so it's an adjoining suburb in the Twin Cities here. So we are right in the metro area. These are my girls, and people will always say, "Oh, I've got kids. I can't do this. I don't have time to do these kinds of things." Well, this is our everyday with 6-year-old twin girls. So if we can find time around all of this busyness to run this business, do portraits, do sports and volume photographs and things along that line, you can find it too, because we have quality time with our family and time to run the business. I have been a member of the Professional Photographers of America for a very long time. And I tease people, I say it is the absolute best investment that I have ever made in my business. And if you are a PPA member, you know what I'm talking about. And if you're not a PPA member, I'm going to encourage you to go to ppa.com and check things out. Because it's absolutely worth the investment. And I have made some of my best friends in the industry through my PPA membership. And I tease, I can get in the car and start driving, and no matter where I stop, I will be within 30 minutes of somebody that I can call to grab a beer with, or go out to dinner with, or maybe even crash at their place. That's the kind of relationships I've created just because of my membership in professional organizations. So let's go there. Grupa Portrait Studio, as I said, is our main brand. This is our umbrella corporation that we work on family portraits, high school seniors, families, as I said. We do business portraits. We do groups for businesses. We do some civic groups with this, and we were starting to, really get into some of the volume events, dances and Santa events and things like that. And then, of course, sports teams. And when I started, I didn't want to do sports teams. The whole story about how we actually got into this is right here. If you go to ppmag.com, search Grupa, their Professional Photographer magazine did a story about us in the June 2016 issue, and it talks a lot more about some of the things that I won't talk about today because I want to just stay on track here. But this kind of gives a little backstory to us as well. So when you have time, you can go do that one. But I didn't want to do teams because I'd been told that this was going to destroy my brand. You see, volume photography carries a different price point than custom portraiture does. And I thought, how am I going to justify selling a $100 8x10 to a senior client after I just sold them a $20 8x10 team photograph? So I was really worried about the appearance of that and how I was going to have to explain that or justify that. But one afternoon, the phone rang, and it was the athletic director at the local middle school. And he was calling to ask if we did sports teams. And we didn't. But all I had to do was really say yes. And the business was mine. It turned out that the big box company that's headquartered in town here had called him and said, hey, we don't have a photographer for next week when we promised we would be out to do your team photographs. So we're going to reschedule you for 3 weeks from now. And he was in a panic when he called me because he said 3 weeks from now, the season will be over and I won't be able to get any of these kids back for team photographs. I'd never done team photographs. So I thought about this long and hard and picked up the phone and called a couple of colleagues of mine who had done a little bit of this, but most of this was left to big box companies at that point in time. I didn't know how to package things. I didn't know how to price things. I was genuinely concerned about this. And because of that, I was unsure about taking the job. So I thought about it for, all of a couple of hours here, and then I took the job. And the funny part was, with absolutely no clue as to what I was doing, I ended up grossing over $2,500 from a middle school the first time through on this. Like I said, not having a broad palette of offerings or anything. I went in and did this and made a lot of mistakes and learned a whole bunch of things right off the bat. But there were 6 to 8 different teams, and there were 15 to 50 kids on each team. And about 70% of these kids were holding an envelope, and inside that envelope was somewhere between $10 and $50. And the athletic director was telling me as I was doing this, he said, if this works out and you want to keep doing this, we have winter teams and we have spring teams as well. So you can come back and do this 3 times a year. So do the math. And I thought, this was fairly, it was good money based on not a ton of work. It was a lot less work than photographing a wedding. And so it made sense to me. And I started thinking about it in terms of added income, because I could get to that $2,500 mark by selling a large print or a canvas to a portrait client or an album or something like that. But I also had to then find a new client to sell my next $2,500 portrait to, because families only buy those, once every 5 to 7 years. They'll replace that portrait on the wall. They don't do this each year. I can sell a $25 package to 100 clients multiple times a year. This is looking better. So why add volume photography? People are thinking, I don't want to do sports. I don't know anything about sports. I don't want to do sports. I don't like sports. But it's not just sports. There's schools, there's preschools, there's daycares that do this. There's other groups that need photography, police departments and fire departments. All those guys in uniform, their families want photographs of them in uniform, not just the, ID photo that goes on their pass to get into the station on that. They want something nice. And we do that stuff. There's events, dances, whether they're local community sponsored daddy-daughter dances or school sponsored father-daughter dances. We do a couple of high school dances like that are wonderfully fun. Churches have confirmations and communions, and they do group photographs and individual photographs with that. And then that guy in the red suit comes along every year, and we do photographs with Santa. Why do you want to add volume photography to your studio? because it's a reliable income stream. That's huge. You can use it to fill in slow seasons. You don't have to convert your entire business over to this, but you're going to be able to fill in those slow seasons with some of these and pick up that cash that you need. And it happens year round. There are the same kid who plays football or soccer in the fall is playing basketball or hockey in the winter, and is running track or playing baseball in the spring, and then is playing baseball or soccer again in the summer. And it just is a big cycle year round. And we have parents that have probably spent that $2,500 with us all by themselves, just buying photographs of their kids in the number of kids they have and the number of sports that they play through the course of a couple of years. People always looked at volume photography as fast food photography, for lack of better terms here. And I was one of them. And the biggest thing you have to do with this is get rid of your misconceptions about what volume photography is. This is not going to hurt your brand if you do it well. John Rockefeller said that the secret to success is to do the common thing uncommonly well. And we thought that that fit our brand really well. And we did things that were for high school seniors, for the teams, the varsity volleyball team. You just saw the banner here for the senior football player that hangs on the field. This was the centerfold in a program for a hockey team that we did. This is a COVID positive here, or COVID doable thing, because all of these players in this photograph were photographed individually and then placed into the team photograph. So rather than have the bleachers with the seniors in the front and the freshmen all the way in the back, and the freshmen's heads are super tiny, or the photographer that lines up a team of 60 guys on the football field, but he only has benches, and then he can stand guys behind the benches and he can kneel guys in front of the benches. Now he's got 3 rows, but they're 20 kids wide. So you end up with a bunch of sky or a bunch of floor. And if you don't have the risers to be able to put them on, we photographed these guys individually. We didn't waste any practice time to do it. We composited this later. Everybody's face is visible, and we have individual photographs of everybody as well. So it gave us a number of things to do with this and sell that. Hockey teams hate giving up their ice time for team photos because ice time is expensive. So we did these photos off on the side, and we set up a background off on the side. We clipped all the groups, we clipped all the individuals, and dropped them onto a template like this that the teams loved, the coaches and players loved, and they loved us even more because we didn't waste their ice time with that. This was the centerfold in a program for a high school football team. They had just opened a new field and spent the summer putting the finishing touches on a brand new football field. We thought this was a very appropriate way to picture them. This is a Ben Shirk template. If you've ever seen Ben Shirk's work, you know how talented he is. And this is how easy it is to do. If I can do something based on a template where Ben Shirk has given you the tutorials, you can do that too. I had attended a program a number of years ago and actually heard the speaker a number of times. And every time I heard him speak, the same thing went through my head, is that volume photography is going to end up killing my high-end portrait sales. And I didn't want to do volume photography. But he came to Kirsten's studio one time and spoke very candidly to a very small group of us. There were probably 8 of us in the room at that point. And I walked out of that thinking, this is an area of the business that I need to grow. This is something that I can do. So I went back to the studio and started looking at things. Senior numbers were declining. It wasn't by anything that we were doing. We were still doing all of our marketing. We were still very strong in the senior market here, but there were a lot of new photographers entering the market, and cameras had gotten to the point where they were easier and affordable, and software had gotten that way. And these new photographers that were entering the market they were getting the photography end of things, but they weren't getting the business end of things. And they ended up racing each other to the bottom on the price scale, which is never a good place to be. However, when you're the parent that's writing the check for that, you're looking at the numbers and going, oh, do I want to pay this much for senior photography, or do I want to pay this much? So we decided we were going to keep our price point where it was, and we weren't going to participate in the race to the bottom. And we looked at other things. There's a book by Spencer Johnson, and maybe you've read this book. You can read this very quickly. You can buy this for under $10 online or at your bookstore, and you can read it between the time you finish dinner and go to bed tonight. And it's called Who Moved My Cheese? And it's all about dealing with change in your life or in your business. And for us, the cheese was moving, and we needed to find new cheese and different cheese. And that's when David Grupa Sports was born. And we actually operate two brands. We have David Grupa Sports and we have Grupa Portrait Studio. Grupa Portrait Studio handles all of the high school seniors, the families, the custom portraiture, and we run the bulk of the volume things out of the sports end. We have separate websites, and our websites link back to each other, but they're very different websites for very different purposes. We have separate Facebook pages, and we post different things on those Facebook pages and have different people who like them for different reasons. And of course, we knew that this new market was going to be different, and we needed to know a bunch of different things. I tease people, I say, I'm finally, after 40 plus years in this industry, I'm finally at the point in my career where I know the things I don't know. I do know what I don't know. But for this, we just knew that we had to kind of create the list for ourselves because there wasn't anybody who was teaching this. So that's where this checklist came from. And we're going to go through that right now just to kind of talk about what I mean by some of these things. And of course, the first thing that we're going to talk about is your availability. All of the sports things that we do happen after school. They happen in the evenings. They happen on the weekends. So if this is something that you're looking at in terms of, I want to be photographing between the time the kids leave for school and I want to be done by the time dinner's ready in the evening, sports might not be where you want to go with this. But if you have that availability after school, evenings, and weekends, then you're in great shape. And you do need to be in great shape. You need to have the ability to haul some gear. This is just a few of the things that we bring for an indoor session. In most cases, we're setting up multiple stations, whether we're photographing in a high school for teams there, or whether we're photographing youth leagues where we're setting up multiple stations indoors for that. We also, when we go outside, we have multiple stations too, and we bring pop-up tents, and there's some setup and teardown involved with what we do during the course of photographing. So if you're not a fan of hauling some gear around, it's not as simple as just grabbing your camera and running to the football field. You can be on your feet for hours as well doing this. Most of our sports, I was telling Karen before we started, I said we might start at 8:30 or 9 o'clock on a Saturday and run until 1 o'clock with our actual photography. But that usually means that we're at the field by about 6 a.m. to unload gear and start setting up, because that just doesn't magically pop up in a few seconds. So there's some hours that go into this. And you will need some staff. You're going to need some people to help you out. You're going to need somebody to help kind of control the crowds and get people in the right place so that they're not all rushing the table at the same time. You're going to need somebody at that table to answer questions and have some product samples available for people to look at, because they're going to come up to you and say, what does a Sportsmate look like? What does a button look like? What does this product mean? What's a mini poster? Things along that line. And so we have samples out and we answer questions as well with that. And we, of course, need somebody to keep the teams moving and organized through the lines. And as we move through the day, they're going to go from station 1 to station 2 to station 3, whether they're going to get individuals taken, and then they're going to move into an area where they're getting a group photograph taken, and then we move them off the field. Most of the time, they don't even cross. We try and set this up in a big circle so that the teams aren't crossing paths or bumping into each other. For staff, we generally look for high school or college students that we've worked with for high school senior portraits, or families that we know who have kids that are looking for a part-time on-call kind of a job. We don't even call it part-time because it's not scheduled strict hours. This is great for somebody who wants to pick up something a couple evenings a week, or maybe on a Saturday morning, and then they're done by Saturday afternoon, they've got their whole evening to be free. It's a great thing for high school and college students. We will work with anywhere from 3 people and up. Some of our larger jobs will have 8 to 10 people staffing with us, but we printed shirts that match so that everybody knows along the line. You look for somebody in an orange shirt, it's going to say staff on the back, and that's who you can answer a question or get your questions answered from. So we all look the same when we're out there as well. And we start young with training them. It's never too early to train your help, and we're not against child labor in any way. So they learn to help out and be responsible, and Target gift cards are incredible payment for them. You don't have no idea how much weight a Target gift card carries with kids. We talk about equipment, and I always kind of cringe when I hear people say, okay, we use this equipment and this is what you have to go out and get. Odds are you already own what you need to do this. Don't run out and buy new gear. We photograph with Nikon D700 bodies. We shoot Nikon. We have Nikon lenses, therefore Nikon. If you're Canon, shoot Canon, and it will all work. We also use the Panasonic Lumix FZ1000 cameras, which are great, inexpensive little cameras that have a zoom lens built in, and they've been phenomenal. So we work out really slick with these, and I don't generally buy them new. I buy gently used gear that's in good shape and pay a lot less for it. We generally use either a 70 to 200 or a 24 to 120 lens on our Nikon bodies. And we try to photograph those, of course, at the long end. So we're compressing with the long telephoto lens. And then we'll throw a 50 on the group camera body, and that will stay over on the side where the groups are being photographed. You want a bunch of memory cards. Okay, memory cards are cheap. Don't overwrite a memory card. When you put the memory cards in your camera bag, they should all be clean and formatted. If you pull a memory card out of one of my camera bags and it has images on it, it means that it hasn't been downloaded yet. So once we download the cards, they sit in a bin on my desk until the order is delivered. And when the order is delivered, then we reformat the cards and put them back into rotation. So we have a bunch of cards. And we use tripods. And I can hear everybody groan when I say that. But for volume photography, you're going to want to put your camera in one spot and lock it down, because this is not about being super creative and doing things from different angles. This is about being able to get matching photographs of every player that are consistent all the way through. You want the head sizes to be consistent. You want the cropping to be consistent. And if you're constantly picking up a camera and putting it down or hand holding, you're not going to get that in post-production. It's going to be a nightmare for you. And post-production is where you don't want to be for this. Volume photography is about doing things consistently and not touching every image when you're all done. We already own the lighting as well. We have Alien Bees that we use in the studio and on location. We have Vagabond batteries that we take on location with us. Now I know that there's a lot of new lights that are coming out. The Godox series is a little more compact and the batteries are self-contained. But I already own these Alien Bees and the batteries for that. And at some point, we might change to something different. However, this is what we work with. This is what we own. I'm not going to go out and spend a bunch of money to do this. We use beauty dish modifiers for a number of reasons. They give us the quality of light that we want, and they're tough. They're made out of metal. And so we bang them around a little bit. And then good quality light stands. That's important to have something that's going to be sturdy and going to stay in place. We also use sandbags on the light stands to keep them from tipping over, because you're photographing around a bunch of little kids and people walking through, and we put something on the bottom so that we are going to weigh these down. And there's a place called sandbagstore.com where you can actually buy filled sandbags, or you can go on places like Amazon and just buy empty sandbags and fill them yourself. This is an indoor setup. We were forced inside because of the rain at a school. And you can see we have the beauty dish modifiers on the light stands. And then off on the left, there's a background of a dugout, a printed background. We get that from a company called backgroundtown.com. They make beautiful backgrounds, and they can print from any file that you give them, and it works out really slick. But we were planning on being outside that day. Unfortunately, the weather didn't cooperate. We don't reschedule. There just aren't enough days in the week to start rescheduling for rain. So we photographed, this was the cafeteria and just kind of a little hallway area right outside the school cafeteria. We set up our background in one area. We set up our group area in another spot, and we photographed indoors. You saw on the left there that pose banner with the different poses from baseball and softball teams. We use pose banners because kids will come up and say things like, how can I stand? I want to do something different. I don't want to do what everybody else is doing. So we give them 8 different options to go in and choose that. Those banners are in the waiting area where the team is waiting, and then there's another one on the ground right in front of the subject that we're photographing, kind of a smaller cheat sheet, if you would, and they can look down and remember which pose they got. We just tell them, remember the number, because all the poses are numbered. And trust me, after you've done this a number of times, you'll remember the poses yourself. We create a different banner for each sport we photograph. And the important thing about creating these banners when they're choosing poses is we clip the images and drop them onto a white background on the banners. Because if you say, okay, we've got this one here, baseball team, for instance, player number 1 was photographed in front of the backstop. Player number 2 might have been photographed by the dugout. Player number 3 might be photographed standing at home plate looking out into the outfield. You've got 3 different players and you've got 3 different backgrounds. We don't want parents to be thinking about what background are we using. We want them to think about what pose they want their player to stand in. So that's why we eliminated the backgrounds on that. We just had those images clipped, returned to us. We put them on, just dropped them onto white, and it's a lot less distraction because we've already figured out what background we're photographing for whatever particular event. So the backgrounds allow us to photograph indoors in bad weather. They keep us from having to reschedule. Talked about those things. That's very important. We photograph outdoors with backgrounds as well. The photograph on the right, of course, is inside a high school gym where we're photographing the track team against a background because, again, it's probably pouring down rain outside. Now, the photograph on the left, we're outside and it looks like it's a nice day and the field is behind us. So I'm standing there looking at the camera, looking into the background. The field is on my backside there, but they're playing games on that field and I'm not going to be able to move the teams off the field to use that for photography. And unfortunately, sometimes the fields that you go to, this tent is set up between the parking lot, which is on the left side, and either the porta potty or a dumpster or something like that, which is on the right side. So we set up the tents. The pop-up tents allow us to control the lighting. We set our background up inside the tent, and it gives us the ability to It gives us the ability to photograph pretty much anywhere outside and get great results. Like I said, we use these 10 by 10 commercial tents with pop-up sides. You can get them at Sam's Club and Costco. You have to buy a commercial grade pop-up tent to do this. The ones that you buy at Target for family gatherings, things like that, don't get tall enough. And you'll end up with that top edge of the tent in the photograph. So you have to get a commercial grade tent. 10 by 10 is great. And then we also use field flags to kind of create aisles where people are walking, create places where people need to go. And we use 48-inch electric fence stake. You can get those at your home improvement stores like Lowe's or Menards or somewhere along that line. They have about a 10-inch metal spike on the bottom. You can just step them right into the ground. And then there's little clips along the sides. We buy pennant flags on Amazon. And you can buy different lengths of these flags, and it's just a rope with pennant flags hanging from it. Please, 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 please don't use caution tape. That looks so tacky. When you're out there and you've got a police line, do not cross, or caution tape or something like that. You want this to look fun. You want this to look festive. Spend a few bucks on the flags. They're not expensive. And then you just take them down, fold them up, and put them back in the box and have them ready for next time. Fold them nicely, because if you don't put them away nicely, they won't come out of the box very nicely either. This is a view of one of our Little League setups where we've got a couple of tents pretty much right next to each other. We've got the flags kind of creating lanes here. This lane runs into my station here. This lane runs into this station over here. The kids from this station are waiting back in this area. My kids will wait back in this area over here. And then when they're all done, we take them off to another area where they will have their group photograph taken. Here's another area too, where we had kind of a small parking lot, and we were able to set up along the edge of that and then create a lane for the teams to line up and go there. Here's another view of that Little League thing. So you can see how they're running through the lanes, and then they walk around. The first group here waits here. When they're all done, they walk behind that station, and the group area to be photographed is over here. My kids wait right outside that group area. We buy a couple of plastic picnic benches. You can buy them again at Costco or Sam's Club or online. And they're white plastic 6-foot benches. We set them down. The kids can sit and wait on those in a spot, and it's always pretty good with that. Then we get into products and pricing. You need to decide on what you're going to offer. There are a handful of things that are considered staples in the industry that you'll want to offer, and that's over here. So we've got our Sports Mates. We've got our 8 by 10 team photographs. We've got our smaller size photographs. So we have a number of individual products, but then we've also over here packaged those products and given you the ability to get either the 8 by 10 or the 10 by 13 Sportsmate print and extra items. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky with ordering, but we'll show you that in just a second here. We've got all the items that were packages over on this side, and we always tell them, here, this is how much you're going to save by going with this package. And the savings is based on them ordering individually over there, because if you buy all those things separately, it's going to cost you more. People want to buy products, and we have to tell them that. This one here, we put these little most popular stickers on the products that sell the best. The reason they sell the best is, A, they're very popular. Package F has a number of prints in it, different sizes. So you've got grandma sizes and desk sizes and all that kind of stuff. And then over on the left are the magnets, and everybody likes refrigerator magnets. But also, importantly with this, is people will also come up to us and say, well, what does everybody else order? What's the common thing to get? And so we put these most popular labels on that so that they know this is the common thing to get. We put some of our higher end products on the back side, but those are the higher end products, and we don't want to spend a lot of time worrying about those or selling those. The wow products are great, but they're more expensive and people don't buy a lot of them. So if you think you're going to sell a lot of those, you really won't. However, this area over here has a bonus item on it, and that goes back to that previous slide where the favorite items were, because, am I off, Karen?
I see you.
Are you there? Am I there?
Yeah.
Okay. I got a note on my page here that says there's a problem with my connection. Okay.
It's good to me.
Okay, good enough. Well, then there's these bonus products here. When they hit a certain level of sales,
David, are you there? I think you might have dropped off now. Okay, I'm seeing people in the chat saying you lost David too. All right, here he is back. You there, David?
my goodness.
There we go. Look, see?
Okay. So, are we back?
You're back, but I don't see your screen.
There's the screen.
Yeah.
There we are. Cool. Sorry about that.
That's right. That was a small glitch.
So, what I was saying is we have a bonus item that encourages people to spend a little bit more money. And that's what they get over here. So those two items allowed them to get up to $50 and get the bonus item. We use a lot of paper order envelopes on site, and it gives people the chance to pay in cash or write us a check. This is important down here where we use these boxes for printing their name as opposed to a line. If you give them a line, they will scribble it in the most unreadable form possible. If you give them boxes, they have to stop and print one letter in each box. You're still going to get some that are unreadable, but this helps in a big way. We also put a little disclaimer on the bottom that says we're going to use these photographs in our marketing and in our advertising and on our website and that kind of thing. So by participating in Picture Day, we agree to allow you to do that. If you don't want us to do that, they can opt out by initialing that box. We get a few of them that will opt out, and in which case we just make that notation on the file name so that that file doesn't get used for anything in the future. Products and pricing, as I said, staple products are the Sportsmates. We offer them in 2 sizes, and we do sell them in both sizes. With that, we offer small prints, 8x10s, 5x7s, 3x5s, wallets. And again, it's just smaller stuff that they can frame or give to grandma or whatever they want to do with that. And then, of course, products like buttons and magnets and keychains are always popular. We sell them in pairs. We don't have anything on our price list under $10. We sell everything as a pair. So if the item that you would buy, if you would say, pay $7 for this magnet or $8 for the magnet, singly, that's under $10. So now we're going to put 2 magnets together and sell them for $15. And that works out better for us as well. And it keeps those orders going in the direction that we want them to. A lot of the products you offer are going to be driven by the vendor that you choose with that. You don't have to offer everything they offer. Check out their, what they offer you, and then choose a few items and start there. And as I said before, the wow products are great, but they're higher ticket items, so they don't always sell. And we need to evaluate these offerings regularly to make sure that this is something that we want to keep on the price list. If it's taking up real estate on the price list and nobody is ordering it, we're probably going to replace that item. We replace the ones that aren't popular, and then we test market new items from time to time. And we do that through this. We have a sheet that goes inside the order form when they hand out paper order forms. And there's one side of the sheet has, this is one of the sides you're looking at. Half that sheet has kind of an infographic on how to fill out the order form. The other half of the sheet over here has some of the new products that we're offering. And so that will give you an idea of, do we want to keep this? Do we want to toss this? Did people think this was a good idea? So we'll put those over there. The flip side of this sheet has a schedule for the day. So everybody can say, hey, what time is my team? If they flip that sheet over, they'll know exactly what time their team is, and it's scheduled in there. We do run on time, so we tell them that as well. So they need to be there 15 minutes ahead of time, and they go from there. When you're presenting products to your clients, we do packages. Obviously, we talked about that. They're a higher price point, but they have added value because there's a lot of goodies in them. We also do preset packages with print combinations, or we do the create your own package where they can order any one of a number of items from a list and go from there. The a la carte workflow is lower price points, obviously, but they're priced higher than the package items. So if you're buying them separately, then that will cost a little bit more. And then digital files. A lot of folks want to offer digital files. We offer individual digital files only. We don't offer team images because parents will buy them and share them, and that will kill sales. And quite honestly, parents want printed product. We'll give digital images for school use only, but clients want printed product from this, and they're willing to pay for it. So don't shoot yourself in the foot by offering digitals only, or just giving everybody, charging a flat fee and giving them all digitals. They will pay for printed product, and they'll probably pay more than you expected them to. Like I said, we give people a reason to buy more by offering bonus items to get that order up to a level there. And then the prepay envelopes, parents complete it. They send it with their player. Probably 60% of our people will order on photo day using an envelope. Now, with some of the things that are happening along the line of COVID here, we're going to find that we're going to be going more touchless, and the online pre-order is going to allow the parents to pay online using a credit card. And now we're going to see if I can get my screen to do what I want it to do, because we do have online ordering through ShootProof. This is my website, and right on the front of my website, here's a big button that says order here with a shopping cart. So they're going to go to my ShootProof site. We're going to pick, what are we doing here? Let's go for Parkway Little League. This particular league I know is in pre-order mode. So we're going to click into that. It's going to take me into my ShootProof gallery, where I'm going to have to log in with my email address. And I know people have bypassed this in the past, saying, I don't want to have to collect email addresses, but you do want to collect the email addresses, and I'll show you that reason in a little bit. So we're into the gallery. Now, we have not photographed this league. Right in the beginning, there's a pop-up that says, here's important ordering information. And this tells them what they need to do, how to order these photographs. And they click that, they're out of there. Now, we know they didn't read that. We understand that they just clicked view photographs and they didn't read any of what was in there. So this whole folder that's here is called how to order. And it has, oh, look, more ordering instructions. And it will tell them how to do that. So as we go through the ordering instructions here, there's the price list again with the packages. And then we put in this image, just a silhouette image that says it's the pre-order photo. So if they're going to do that, they select that, they click the buy photo button, and then they choose an item. Now, we don't fulfill through the ShootProof labs because a lot of this stuff is customized and is not just something that is a standard lab product. We do very custom things with names or logos or things like that on it. So we went through and we created, under the products price list, we created our entire price list, sports product number 1 through 14. And then we did the create your packages under that. And then we did all the a la carte products that aren't part of the packages. All those wow products are under that. And it's important that when ShootProof changed their price list to allow you to sort these images, go back in then and sort them. So it's 1 through 14, or it's package A, package B, package C, starting with the top and working your way down. And you've obviously got your most expensive stuff at the top, or the popular items at the top, depending on how you're going to work that. And then the things that maybe aren't as important are going to be way down at the bottom. on that one. Previously, the sort was done a different way, and it caused a bunch of problems. So this was a beautiful, beautiful revision by Shootproof that made our life a lot simpler. So we're going to do a package here. And package B is one of our most popular packages, and it says product number 2 plus any one of the additional items from number 4 through 14. And then it gives the instructions that says enter your additional product by using the Add a Note to Studio button on the order page. They select the individual photo player for the product, and then they add it to their cart. When they check out, they'll have to use that part here that gives us all of their information, and then there's the Add Note to Studio. In this Notes from Studio area, make sure you say, please make sure to enter your player info, name, jersey number, in your Create a Package product selections in the Note to the Studio area, and then they can go ahead and type that in there. Again, people don't read, so you may have to follow up with some of the people on that. However, this is kind of the workaround that we've had to be able to use a create your own package system with the Shootproof ordering system, and it's worked out very well for us to make that happen. We like Shootproof because we pay a flat rate at the beginning of the year, and they don't charge us any commissions on the sales, and that's love. We love that. We create a gallery for the league, so that league would have a folder for each team. So if your kid played on the athletics, there'd be a folder for the athletics, and it would have all the individual players in that folder plus the team photograph. And they select the individual player photo. We're going to automatically pair that for the Sportsmate. We're going to automatically pair that with the team photograph from that folder. And so there's some of those things that we have to just kind of trust on that one when we're doing that. But the pre-order, you're thinking, how do I know which kid it is? So let me go through this. We like pre-order because they don't need the envelope on picture day. And kids and parents forget envelopes. So they fill out what we call a placeholder card, and they can either order after picture day, or they can order on site. We do have QR codes set up around the area where they can just go boom, and it'll take them right to the site on their phone, and we'll have people there to help them place their order. It's contactless, and that's going to be big from this point forward. Plus, as I said, you want that email in there, because once you've photographed this league, once you've delivered the photographs and you're looking at it and thinking, well, man, only about 40% of the players ordered. Now I can send out a reminder that says, hey, we're going to take this offline in a few weeks, and if you don't order now, you might not get a chance to do this again. And we'll do that a couple of times and say, you've got 15 days to do this. You've got 10 days to do this. You've just got 24 hours to get this order in before this goes offline. When they can go in and pre-register in the gallery and type their email in, and we'll send them an email that says, your photos are up. Go look at them. Go order them. We generate excitement with that email function from Shootproof. We also have these that we have available for people to take with them that day. These are bookmarks. They're 2.5 by 7 inches. It's got the big link right on the front where it says order.davidgrupasports.com. And then over here, there are instructions on how to place the order. And so that's step by step on how to place your order online. As I said, we're doing this through Shootproof, and we've done it through Shootproof. I can't remember when, from way back since Shootproof was born. We do require payment at the time of the order. We don't do any pickups. We don't do any order now, pay later things. They can pay cash, check, or credit card. We also offer PayPal, so that works as well. Your player ID is the most critical part of your picture day organization. We use ID labels. We use a whiteboard. Some folks are using hand numbering. I don't like this method because it requires me to stop and look at the camera, call out a number each time, and then I have to trust that the person writing down the number is going to write the number A legibly and B in the correct sequence that I give them. If they're dyslexic and they start writing, 675 instead of 567, we're in a world of hurt as far as identifying things. And then some of the more advanced labs will use a barcoding method. We use Avery 5167 labels. We create a label that has the year, it has the league or the team that we're photographing on the top, it has the team name down here, and then it has a sequence number. And as you can see over here, this says basketball, varsity boys, 1 through 15. And then we've got Concordia basketball, JV boys, 1 through 15. I don't know if I've got 15 kids on the team or not. I always create a few extra labels. Some of the coaches will have photographs taken with their kid if they're coaching a youth league, and we offer a free coach photograph to them. So that requires an ID label. And when we're done, we draw a line through that. We start at the next highlighted label. That's the next team that's coming through. And we just go to the highlighted label, peel that off, stick it on the envelope. There is absolutely no mistaking what's happening there. Each one gets a label stuck on it. I talked about that placeholder card. Everybody who is not holding an order envelope on photo day fills out a placeholder card. Is their first name, last name, jersey number on it. We've changed this around a little bit. I don't care about their grade. I don't care about their team, because the label we put down here has that team information on it. I want first name, last name, jersey number. Please print so I can actually read this. And then for the coach photos, we give them ID cards. They print their first name, last name, their contact information on here. And then they have their choice of either a 5x7 team photograph. They have their choice of a photograph, a 5x7 of them with their player. And we don't charge them for this as long as they have this card. We actually offer a couple of cards per team to each of the coaches. You have to be careful with this. We started using this because we initially started saying, oh, we'll just give them a free coach photo with that. Well, suddenly everybody was a coach. And so we talk about this. They have to be a rostered coach, and they have to have a copy of this on photo day. We give 2 photographs or 2 cards to each team for coaches. If they come in with a third coach, yeah, we'll give them an extra card. But it really keeps the people who are going to try and get the free photo out of this deal and call themselves a coach from doing that. We use whiteboards to identify the beginning and end of each particular group. Now, this particular football league we're photographing, they have 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade teams. And guess what? They all have red jerseys, black numbers, black pants. Everybody looks exactly the same. So it's super important to photograph this at the beginning of the team and then at the end. We do the team photograph in there, and this is going to be on a different camera, so it's not going to be with those individuals. And we put the whiteboard in there again so we know which team it is, and we put whatever information on that. We generally photograph 2 frames per player. We select the better image. We renumber the images to match the label ID. So if it's Maplewood basketball, 7th grade, player number 1, that's what your label looks like. And it just goes through that way. And I can find that file very easily because it matches my number system. We archive files for a year, or they're on our main computer for a year. After that, they get archived onto backup drives. We keep them for a while and we back up everything. The quickest way to lose a league is to not back up something and then lose those images. That's why I said we don't rewrite those cards until we've delivered that league with that. You've got to back this stuff up. And we use Richmond Professional Lab for our fulfillment. And that's our choice based on their variety of product, the quality of their work, the pricing, which allows us to be very profitable, and the customer service, which I feel is second to none in the industry on that. That's the goodie bag. That's the other good thing. If you go to that web link with the checklist, there is a 50% off an order coupon from Richmond Professional Lab, and that's good for any order up to $200. They'll give you up to $100 off on that. So it's kind of neat. The cool part about what they do is they return all the photographs to us sorted. So if Johnny has ordered the Sportsmate and 2 5x7s and a page of wallets and 2 buttons, it's all in the envelope. And all we do when we get it back in the studio here is slip a piece of cardboard into it to stiffen it up a little bit. We slap Johnny's ID label on it, and we check to make sure everything's in there and deliver it that way. They'll give us either window envelopes or poly bags when we do that. And then we deliver to the school or the league. We will drop things off, sorted, bagged by team. And this is, me at a football field getting ready to drop off a league's worth of football photographs. We also do some direct mail with that, and that takes a little bit more effort. So make sure if you're direct mailing, you've charged for the amount of time that you're going to put into direct mailing, plus the materials that you'll require to direct mail, because the mailers themselves are going to cost you extra money, and you're going to have packaging to slip inside that mailer with that. And then you're going to want to use somebody like stamps.com or Pirate Ship or somebody along that line. That's going to give you a discount on postage, because you'll pay too much if you're just putting stamps on everything. We've also photographed in the volume world, police departments, fire departments, dance studios, Santa events, and just a number of different things. One of the things we did recently was a high school graduation where it was socially distanced. We photographed one person every 5 minutes over the course of 3 days to photograph about 320 some kids. We did a photograph of them on stage, walking across, receiving picking up their diploma off a table. They hit a mark. We photographed them there. They walked off the stage. They walked out a door into another area where we photographed them waist up holding the diploma. And then they literally walked outside from that area. But we created those images, and we're selling those online right now as well. And so it's worked out really slick for us. Anything where there's a bunch of people there, you can do this. You can do volume headshots for corporations, things like that. Volume photography has not hurt our portrait business at all. When we started doing this, I was telling people that we did about 80% portrait, and the volume was responsible for about 20% of our annual income. Volume has grown to represent over 85% of our annual income now. That's not at the expense of the portraits. That's in addition to the portrait side of our business. We found that we could market to kids for high school senior portraits where when we deliver the photographs, we're slipping a marketing piece into each of those packets, whether they're a freshman or whether they're a senior. We want them to know Grupa Portrait Studio by the time they're done with school. There's a lot of places to connect with other volume photographers. PPA, if you're a PPA member, there's their social media thing called The Loop. There are a number of groups on Facebook, including Camp David Photo and T&I Sports Photography, where there's some great discussion on volume and the mechanics of it and how people are doing certain things with that. And if you're on Facebook, check those out. Robert Quillen said, progress always involves risks. You can't steal second base and keep your foot on first. That's really important. You have to go for this. You can't kind of do it halfway, because it's not going to work. Make a commitment to this. Ken Blanchard said, there's a difference between interested and commitment. When you're interested in doing something, you only do it when it's convenient. When you're committed to doing something, you accept no excuses, only results. And of course, finally, Walt Disney said the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. And so that's my cue to quit talking here. Thanks to Shootproof for having me today, and thanks to all of you guys for coming today. We'll go through the questions at this point and kind of see, Karen's been going through those, and we'll see what we've got.
Wow, that was a lot of information.
This is my connection information and Kirsten's connection information. So you can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. We still use that thing called email as well. And I know there's a ton of questions people had about maybe how we use Shootproof that I didn't get to go into in here. I've got a whole nother program about just how we market to schools and leagues and things like that that we couldn't even scratch the surface with on today. So I didn't even start on that one. And then there's a whole nother program on how we actually run our photo days in detail. So if you're a PPA member, drop me a note and I can send you a link to those presentations. If you're not a PPA member, maybe that's just a good enough reason to join. It's going to cost you less than $30 a month, and you probably spend that on fast food and coffee.
That's awesome.
I went way over that 40 minutes you told
I
me.
know. I appreciate that. You've been like so generous with everything that you've learned, over however many years you've been doing it. You've got so much experience, and that was just, it was very generous of you to share it all with us. And I really, really appreciate it more than you know. So thank you for spending that extra time. All right, so thank you, everybody. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. And I hope that we see you again at another webinar. And thank you, David.
Thanks so much, everybody. Karen, thank you, and Shootproof for being so gracious and having me here today.